Hi, Bjorn. How are you? I'll try to get started quickly today. Uh, only came in second. Well, when there's only two participants, coming in second sucks. As soon as there's more, though, it sounds a little nicer. So now there's three guys. You came in second. It's pretty. You still got a medal, right? Now there's four. Well, now second's starting to look pretty good. So, hi, Bjorn. I was waiting on that one. Had a 2-hour conversation with our boys and girls in Brazil on Friday night, maybe. Might have been no Friday night, yeah. Moving along quite nicely, actually. So we may actually bite off a bit more than we thought we would on the CoinMetro side. Lots of preparatory work happening around the office to make sure that the deal goes nice and smooth. Compiling some data for both entities, CoinMetro and for the CSD, in terms of financials, in terms of some additional information that was requested. But moving along quite nicely. I think we'll be able to finalize things before these 6 weeks, as indicated in the LOI. Hey, Lone Wolf, John K, Harold, Six My Bad. Yeah, too much money. You know, they say more money, more problems. Not when you're a startup. in life, though, I'll tell you what, that actually makes 100% sense. I've had times in my life where I had no money, and I've had times in my life where I had a lot of money. And I guarantee you, the problems you have when you have no money suck, because you have no food and no place to live. Those problems suck, but that's pretty much the limit of your problems, right? When you have lots of money, those problems get ever more complex and ridiculous, but you probably have food to eat and a place to live. But the problems get much more complex with the more diverse your income stream is. So, hey, Crispy. So, can't just divulge what the LOI says in total. It has a non-disclosure agreement tied to it for both sides, but essentially it's roughly a 1% share in CoinMetro on the CoinMetro side. It's in the six figures. I think it's going to be mid to high six figures. But it's a good first step, and the people that are it's a good first step to finally close the round, basically because the people involved are able to invest higher sums. And phase 2 of the CSD basically requires that both the MTF, CoinMetro, and the CSD are both regulated in Europe. That will require the additional money that we've been looking to fundraise inside of that phase 2, which is after we get out of the sandbox in Montenegro. Yeah, I will stop focusing on fundraising while we go through the sandbox. That's for sure. Once we get through, after about 4 to 5 months, once we get through into the sandbox and we're testing, then fundraising kicks off full force, but a much different fundraising round than what we've done so far. This is probably going to see a lot of incumbent and institutional money rather than simple angel investors. So it'll be a much different game plan. Hi, Mark. All right. So what kind of problems come with having a lot of money? Jesus. Lots of problems, actually. You name it. Think about the fact that it depends on if you win the lottery, you don't necessarily have to create problems for yourself. You could live in the same house, drive the same car, or walk, or ride a bike, whatever you're doing. You could eat ramen noodles every day and have enough money to eat as much ramen noodles as you can possibly eat until you blow up. And I guess you wouldn't have too many problems until you got fat enough where you're going to blow up. Then that would be a health problem. And I guess money is not really going to solve that one, right? So, but the point is that most people that have lots of money got it from diverse streams of income, and that means they have diverse enterprises that they deal in. That means they have businesses, investments. That means they're probably linked up with partners and associates and shareholders. And the more you make that web larger, the more problems you create, and those problems can get very complex over time. Not to mention that when it comes to a personal level, some people get money and just make stupid decisions. Stupid decisions lead to problems. Even though at the end of the day, you'll have some really great stories to tell, but you'll end up with a shit ton of problems too. So let's get started, guys, before we go off too much on a tangent, since we've already went way off. So those of you who have never been here before, this is not my mother's basement behind me. This is my office inside of CoinMetro's office in Estonia, just so you know. There's more people here. There you go. So anyway, I am Kevin Murcko. I'm CEO here at CoinMetro. This is our weekly crypto recap. We call it This Week in Crypto. Basically what it is a recap of news. We have 10 pieces of news that are correlated over the week by our elite Telegram group. Thank you guys and girls for that. I go over the news. I do about a 1-minute recap on each news story. It takes about 10 minutes. We then do something called Kevin Explains Crypto, which is me explaining some term in crypto in layman term as best I can, just kind of telling you what it means. And then we do Reddit questions. Well, this week we're going to do Reddit questions first because I missed them last week, and then we'll jump into the AMA. So you can ask your question right here on YouTube. Ask me anything means ask me anything. I've gotten some unique questions over the past year or so doing this, and I pretty much answer anything. So throw it out there. I'll answer it. Let's see. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the news. Kevin Explains Crypto. Reddit, live Q&A. So if you want to ask a question live or you're waiting for your question to be answered, I would say come back in about 20 minutes. If you actually want to hear me talk about news, then sit back and enjoy the ride. Here we go. It's like when you ever get on a real shitty plane? I mean, like a propeller plane, it's going to be a shitty flight, and they're like, sit back and enjoy the flight. Well, here we go. Number one on market news, Netherlands may block foreign crypto firms under anti-money laundering laws. All right, so yeah, the Netherlands is catching up to Estonia, who did this in 2017. Yay, Estonia. They're just adopting AMLD5. And basically what they're saying now is that crypto exchanges have to adhere to these policies, and any crypto exchange that's actually soliciting clients or servicing clients in the Netherlands will have to follow the same legislation, and they will need to register as basically a financial service provider, a crypto exchange provider inside of the Netherlands, something like Austrac did in Australia. It's not supposed to go into effect, I think, until 2020. I think firms have until the end of the year or early next year in order to register. We're already in that process, actually. So it just makes sense, guys. Until there's a uniformed passportable legislation around Europe for crypto exchanges, every country will start to do this. It just makes sense. They want to be able to understand where their citizens are putting their money. So if when something happens, they at least have some data points and some crumbs on where to actually go and find out what happened to people's money. Number two on the list of 10, Venezuela's largest bank opens up Petro cryptocurrency wallet registrations. I wonder if that bank is state-owned. Not much more to say about that then. The Petro is a joke. The leader in Venezuela is a joke. The poor people of Venezuela have had to deal with his ridiculous nonsense for quite too long. Nobody really cares about moving into Venezuela because, well, at the end of the day, it's got some oil, that's for sure. But the amount of nonsense that happens in the country and the amount of infrastructure that would need to be put in place in order to actually get access, be able to pull that oil out, meaning that to not have civil unrest is quite ridiculous. So unfortunately, there's no real reason for people to step in, not to mention that Venezuela has ties into countries that, let's say, the UN doesn't necessarily want to start a war with. You can use your imagination, or if you already know who those countries are, then I don't need to explain it. But yeah, it's a bit of a ridiculous situation. But yeah, the Petro is a joke. Don't buy any. And the only reason this bank is actually open up Petro is because obviously it's state-owned or state-controlled or both. Number three on the list of 10, France to block Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency in Europe. So I said this already. Any country that has a central bank that actually can commit to policy or is linked to a central bank that can commit to policy, like the ECB, is not going to like the way Facebook's Libra is basically structured inside of that initial white paper that they released. Why? Because it's structured like a central bank. It's a central bank that basically hoards fiat, creates tokenized fiat, and earns interest on the back of the fiat that they hold. And they're able to basically they're basically able to do quantitative easing inside of a stable coin. And that's something that, well, central banks do. And central banks don't want anybody else doing unless they're a central bank. So what's going to happen with Libra? I said this already. Libra will happen. I think Facebook will release Libra in one way, shape, or another. Will they release it as that initial white paper depicted it? No, they won't. Doesn't make any sense. They will never be able to get enough companies behind them and enough power to make that work in that manner. It's structured too much like it's a sovereign currency and a sovereign central bank. There's a few tweaks that'll need to happen there, and I'm sure they already have smart people over there digging through, a bunch of guys with big thick glasses and nerdy haircuts from MIT and Cambridge and all this other nonsense that I'm sure are going to be able to dig through all that paperwork and come up with a nifty little solution. So Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg come out and say that they did a great job. But yeah, France isn't the only one. France might be the first maybe to specifically voice these concerns. Of course, they don't tell you exactly what their concerns are. I'm telling you what it is. Facebook is modeled at like a sovereign country's central bank, and that will need to change before it can gain any traction anywhere. Number 4 on the list of 10, Coinbase considering initial exchange offering platform. Yeah, just like everybody else and their grandmother, right? Jump on the bandwagon, guys. Welcome to 2019. Dust off your 2017, dust off your shoes on your way in. So what? Look, markets need capital market infrastructure needs primary markets. And they need primary markets that are structured and at least to a certain extent regulated. So, there are lots of quote unquote IEO platforms. Most don't do anything to mitigate the risk that happened during the ICO bubble. And somebody needs to do this. And there can't be one primary issuance platform in the world. Makes no sense. Just like regular secondary markets, traditional secondary markets, there will be players that have a hold on a region. There will be players that have a hold for certain types of assets. There will be primary market platforms that become the standard for, let's say, debt. There'll be primary market platforms that become the go-to guys in a certain region for all types of assets, et cetera. Coinbase, obviously being one of the biggest exchanges in the world and definitely more regulatory focused than most. Plus, we did it already. And we already sent a nice opinion to LHV. So again, we're doing the work for them. So seriously, Coinbase, I'll send you, it's CoinMetro Group OU. I'll give you the address. Just mail the check. Mail the check, guys. Just mail it over here. Put it in a FedEx. You can send a regular mail if you want. No problem. Once we get it, I'll post it on Twitter so everybody knows that you paid the due for us doing basically all your legal work for you. You're welcome. Number 6 on a list of 10, Binance is coming. I shouldn't stop there because that sentence is now alarmingly ridiculous. Okay, formable Asia-founded crypto exchange will begin registering trades on compliant U.S. exchange next week. I love these headlines. Compliant U.S. exchange. So the company that they quote unquote partnered with is registered with FinCEN. That's it. You know how you get registered with FinCEN? You fill out a form. It's super difficult. I mean, masters of the legal universe may take 3 to 4 years just to get through this form. That's how difficult it is. That was sarcasm, in case people aren't aware with my ways of pushing sarcasm into this program. It's not hard. It's very easy. The only thing Binance is really doing is just limiting the pairs. So they have some legal opinions, tells them what pairs that people can trade, what pairs they can't. They're not registered as MSBs in the 50 states like Coinbase is, for example. They do not have a BIT license. This is as close to a failure as you can get without actually falling into the shit. Right? So it's like tripping and almost putting your face in the dog shit and just kind of missing it as you go down, but you're still getting a nice scar on your face for the rest of your life. That's kind of what kind of fail that is. Binance should do better. I mean, they have a lot of money. You think they'd be able to hire a lawyer that has at least 3/4 of a brain in his head. I guess they can't. So, I guess they'll have to wait for us to do it, and then they can just copy us, kind of like our friends at Coinbase. Just another dig at Coinbase. I don't know. I'm having a Coinbase day. Number 7 on a list of 10, crypto exchange Gemini launches institutional grade custody solution. I've said this a bunch of times. Exchanges will need to diversify their income streams. Coinbase did it with their custody. They now hold a good portion of non-regulated assets in custody. Gemini's trying to get a piece of that. Creating custody solutions is not as difficult as one may imagine in their own little world inside their own little head. It just takes money and takes a bit of time. So Gemini's got some money and they had some time. So we'll see if they can pull some of that non-regulated asset custodial business out from Coinbase. Possible, especially if their pricing is better. We'll see. Number 8 on the list of 10, Roger Ver planning Bitcoin Cash derivatives platform to overtake XRP and ETH. Well, Bitcoin Jesus is Bitcoin Jesus. So what do you want to say about that? I don't like Roger Ver. I don't like his T-shirts. I don't like his polo shirts. I think my T-shirt's much nicer. I don't know if we want to take a vote on that. We should do a Twitter poll on T-shirts. Roger Ver would lose, I think. Then we could take a Twitter poll just on nonsense cryptocurrencies, and I think he'd probably lose there too. Look, when it comes to Bitcoin Cash, everybody's saying the true Bitcoin, whatever nonsense. I don't know why people think creating a derivatives platform drives adoption of an underlying asset. It doesn't. It drives speculation into the underlying asset, which may or may not be cash or physically deliverable. It doesn't do, it drives volumes. It makes somebody some money, but that's it. It doesn't, their whole thing is that they're the payment vehicle. They're the true Bitcoin. They're the peer-to-peer payment network. And they want to drive adoption to a peer-to-peer payment network by creating probably a synthetic derivatives market. How? I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm not the top economist in the world. Maybe I should ask Noriel about this one. He probably has a few tidbits of information that he'd like to share. Not sure I want to listen to him, but I'm sure he's got them. But how does that make any sense? They want to be a payment gateway, and to drive adoption to their payment gateway, let's allow people to trade on high leverage synthetic derivatives. It's stupid, guys. It's just Bitcoin's cash claim to fame is that everything Bitcoin does, they do, and they do it on a much smaller scale. That's it. So local Bitcoins, local Bitcoin, BitMEX, whatever, exchange.bitcoin.com. Old news, who cares? WFC, who fucking cares? Number 9 on the list of 10, CoinGecko releases Trust Score 2.0 to boost crypto exchange transparency. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked into this one, guys, but if it's anything like CoinMarketCap attempt to boost transparency, it's a waste of time. And if CoinMarketCap is listening, guys, if you want ideas on how you can actually look at data coming from exchanges and make a better decision as to whether that data is actually legitimate, or it's wash trading, or it's some other type of spoofing, or some way that either bots from the exchange themselves or bots from their clients are actually pushing in fake volume that isn't actually being recorded on anyone's books, and it's simply ways to adjust market price, probably from some outward feed that they're using for price discovery or whatever. Send us an email and we'll give you a little run through on how that can actually happen. It's done in other markets. It can be done here. It's more difficult here because the data points you receive for the most part, are probably bullshit. So you have to weed through a lot of bullshit to get to the truth. But even mature markets have spoofing, and they have front running, and they have wash trading, and there are ways to spot it. And again, I don't know what CoinGecko did, but I can tell you what CoinMarketCap did. Doesn't do anything really to provide any transparency. Hopefully CoinGecko did something better. I'll have a look at it, maybe make a comment on Telegram later today. Santander issues end-to-end blockchain bond. That's number 10 of 10. So I had to look at this one. Not so much information around this one, guys. I still think it's a lazy solution. And anybody who doesn't know what I mean by lazy solution means it's a bond issued as any other bond would be issued and then tokenized. Here, though, they tokenized the DVP, delivery versus payment. So the actual fiat that people paid in was tokenized and placed on the blockchain as well. And the dividend payments, the coupon payments, the money, the profits that are paid out on this bond are also tokenized. But underneath all this is still the same infrastructure, meaning that the bond went through the same process to be issued. The DVP, the delivery versus payments, and the deposits still happened in cash. That means they took time to settle. That means people receive a stable coin they need to convert back to their cash, which will take time to settle. It does reduce a bit. The one thing that it does here to relieve a little bit of pain point in traditional markets is that it reduces the chain of custody. So that's okay. It's one step forward, but it's still a lazy solution. It still hasn't yet encompassed. Again, we talk about the CSD here a lot because it's a partner project with CoinMetro. Talk about settlement. There's nothing in here yet about actual settlement on a blockchain in real time. which is really one of the major pain points in terms of settlement latency that exists, because anyway, without going down this road and talking about this forever, it's still a lazy solution, though they have gone one step further than most others. So we'll see what the next news comes out about Santander. They seem to be one of the faster movers. Actually, the Spanish banks are doing quite well. BBVA, Santander, they all, at least with blockchain, that they're pushing forward. Okay, Kevin explains crypto. Let's do this one real quick, guys. This week, Kevin explains crypto is fungibility. So I assume we want to know about both fungible and non-fungible. So just fungibility as a whole. So fungibility, when you talk about crypto, or not just crypto, but fungibility in crypto is essentially one token, one coin is identical to any other coin. So there's no factors that immediately define the difference between one coin and another. If I own a Bitcoin and you own a Bitcoin, essentially they can be interchanged from me to you, back to me, back to you. It's still the same type of, there's no real difference. It's a Bitcoin. That's it. There's no specific, let's say, there's no specific utility tied to my Bitcoin that might not be tied to yours. When you talk about non-fungible tokens, these, if you mix them all in a basket, so to speak, you'd know exactly who owned which token and be able to return it. And those tokens are tied to the owner, and they may also have specific rights tied to them. So the difference between non-fungible and fungible is simply fungible. They're all the same. It's like if you had a bowl of red M&Ms, they all look the same. They all taste the same. They're all made with the same material. If you have one red M&M and I have another, I can't do anything with my red M&M that you can't do with yours. But if you have a basket full of multicolored M&Ms where each color relates to a specific person, tagged back, mine are blue, Mark's are green, Bjorn's are purple, whatever. Those become now non-fungible. Okay, so that explains, Kevin explains crypto. I'm going to jump into Reddit. I'm going to do one Reddit question because we have some from last week as well. Jump over, take 2 or 3 live questions, and I'll jump back to Reddit. This way we'll keep it a little more lively than usual. So Reddit question, I believe this one's from last week from Taoist Crypto Bank. I am all in with crypto, thumbs up. So do not have a bank account or credit card statement and rent a room in a house with all bills paid. So don't have any utility bills or an obsolete landline phone. So am effectively locked out of your platform as I'm unable to complete your KYC process, as is the case with all digital nomads. How can you fix this? Because we are all exactly your target market. You're definitely fit within our target market, well, one of our target markets, right? That's for sure. Now, look, I've been a digital nomad in my life, and I've always been able to pass KYC. So let's break down your own situation. First of all, proof of address is not required from every single individual. So not every digital nomad, depending on their volumes and how they trade, would need to provide a proof of address. That's one. 2, you say you live in a house. That means you probably have, you say in a house. You don't say you live with your parents. You don't say you live, with your grandmother. You're not living in your aunt's attic or your sister's basement. You're living in a house. You're renting a room. You probably have a contract where you rent that room. That contract probably has the name of the person leasing that room to you. And the names of those bills probably come in the name of the lessor, sorry. There you go. The reason for proof of address is that we need proof that you live where you say you live. So you mentioned you don't have a bank account. Okay. You do have you must have acquired that crypto from somewhere. So you probably maybe you have a crypto statement. Maybe you have something. Now, generally speaking, we have guidelines on what we can accept, but there are circumstances where sometimes we accept different documents. It's not something we do on every single case because it becomes ridiculous. If you accepted every document people sent to you, well, guess what? You just get so many documents, you would never be able to verify anything. But there are specific cases. It's something that you need to work with us on. You need to contact us, tell us your situation, and compliance and support will work with you. That's it. But let me tell you, like I said, I was a digital nomad for years, way before Bitcoin, guys. You Bitcoin nomads, you guys don't know the hardships that us real, way before, like even to be honest, before the proliferation of the internet, were nomads. Yeah, try that one on for sus. Try to use your e-gold or your e-bullion or your whatever virtual currency, your flues from back in the day, and be a digital nomad. Those were difficult times, man. You guys have it easy. I feel like grandpa. But seriously, work with us and we'll work with you. That's how it works. Hambudge, if I and just to put a note on that one, we have to work with inside regulations, guys, and regulators don't understand all this stuff and they could care less. So we have to be your voice to the regulator. So you need to help us understand your situation so we can put our heads together to figure out how we can get your situation basically accepted by a regulator, right? So we're on your side. Don't think that because we might be a little, we might be scrutinizing you a bit more, or because we ask for documents, others don't, that somehow we're against. Like, we don't want you to be our client. That's definitely not the case. We want you as a client. We're on your side. We're here to make sure that we can maintain our business so you can maintain your account, because obviously you came here to get an account, not to have it closed in 6 months when the regulator comes in and finds out we accepted a bunch of falsified documents for a bunch of, whatever. I don't know, people living under a rock somewhere, right? So just work with us and we'll work with you. Hambudge. Also from after this, guys, I'll jump on some to live questions. Hambudge from also from Reddit from last week. If I margin lend XCM, do I get a percentage of the original Euro stake each year, or would I get the increased volume percentage of the XCM I tie in? Similarly, with XCM invested in TRAM, or do I get more or less XCM invested or the original Euro equivalent? Sometimes I feel like I need like a decoder ring to understand these questions sometimes. This is one of them. I think I got the gist though. So when you margin lend, understand it like this. No matter what you margin lend, XCM, Bitcoin, whatever you're lending. By the way, it's not lending, it's posting. I can't believe I said lending 3 times. Ridiculous. It's just because it's Friday and I'm tired and I flew in at 8:30 in the morning from Georgia, and a little caveat there. So when you post margin in whatever currency or whatever asset you posted in, that gets used by a client, and they're able to use that posted margin to buy on basically credit or leverage inside of our margin trading platform. When they do that, they're buying based on a Euro equivalent margin. So your collateral you post, the margin they're able to trade with will change based on the value of that currency at the time of their trade. And you are paid a percentage in Euro, no matter what you post. In terms of TRAM, when you invest in a TRAM, it's essentially the same thing. Your profitability is going to be paid back to you in Euro. That's how it works. Even though the underlying collateral you post could be in XCM with Bitcoin, whatever. The way we calculate profits is based on an underlying Euro value. And down the road, once we have additional fiat currencies that you can have as a base, that would change to pounds, USD, whatever. All right, let's get some live questions here. Will the altcoin price asking on YouTube, will the XCM burn rate be implemented across margin posting, margin trading, and TRAM? XCM burn is tied to every single transaction that happens on any one of our trading or exchange platforms. So to answer your question, when it comes to margin trading and TRAM, yes. When it comes to margin posting, no. But when it comes to the trading that happens on the margin posting, yes. Six, my bad. Are you going to make a new video to explain TRAM since the video from 2018 is obsolete? Yes. We probably will, though it'll probably be more like a tutorial video. So it'll show people how to use it and at the same time explain what it is. Hey, Sal. See, our guys in compliance get so much shit on a daily basis. They literally get allergic to ridiculous requests. If you hear that, that's Pavel sneezing in the background. Okay, so Krispy Kreme, will the Parsec IEO require people to buy using XCM? No. This is something that we will implement over time, because obviously it's a good way to basically have an additional use case for XCM. However, the first time we do this, it just doesn't make sense. Right? I think it makes sense for us because, one, we have if people are buying with XCM, that means the underlying project is receiving XCM, and obviously XCM can be a little bit more volatile and a little bit more illiquid than the rest of these other crypto assets like Bitcoin, for example. And we want these guys to be able to move swiftly in and out of the platform with the money that's allocated to them initially, rather than having to sell back XCM to cash out the funds to run their business. So once the liquidity on XCM gets to a point where we see that that's feasible, then definitely we will move down that road. Back to Reddit, guys. Going to check another one from Reddit. what kind of charges are there for the tram? That's Peter Mack again. So in terms of when you invest in a tram, obviously when someone makes, when the manager of the tram is trading, when they trade, there are commissions, just like you would pay if you were trading for yourself. Those are charged. The net, though, of that profit then goes to the mirror, which is the mirror account, the mirror wallet that's held by the investor. Now, from the investor standpoint, or from the client standpoint that has mirrored this tram, there is only one fee outside of that net profitability from commission, and that is a performance fee. And the performance fee will be set by the tram manager. We're going to limit that to, I think, a maximum of 20%. That 20% comes from a high watermark performance fee. High watermark works like this. Let's say month one, the tram earns 10% after commissions. Okay, so you buy into a tram for 1,000 euro equivalent. You have 1,100 euro at the end of the month. On the last day of the month, there is a performance fee calculation. 20% of that 100 euro you earned gets paid to the manager. So now you have 1,080 euro, right? And he got, or she got 20 euro. Done. Next month, let's say there's a 5% loss. So that 1,080 goes to, what's 5%? 4, that's 54. So it goes to what 36? Yeah, 20, yeah. 26, yeah, 1,026 after that 5% loss. Again, it's Friday, guys. Sorry, usually I can do this kind of math in my head without even skipping a beat. But anyway, so it goes to 1,026, your balance. Now, let's say the month after that, the guy makes another 10%. Okay, so now your balance, so no fee is paid when you have 1,026 in your account. Was it 26? Yeah, 26 in your account. Next month, you make 10%. He makes 10% again. Your account goes up to 1,128.20. 1,128.20. The last high watermark was 1,100. So you only pay a performance fee on the 28.20. That's new. That's above that high watermark in your account. So you would pay, what's that? 5.64, €5.64 in terms of performance fee on that third month. That's essentially how high watermark works, and that's the only fee in addition to normal commissions that will be paid from a tram. And that money then goes to the manager, and part of that, the manager's fees are collected by CoinMetro by way of a service fee for using the tram platform. Daniel asking on the live side on YouTube, finally got in here this time, literally took off work early to see this. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate the support. Hopefully you caught most of it. When margin posting, I need passive XCM income, Krispy Kreme. Margin posting, we will start to work specifically or wholeheartedly or unilaterally, I don't know, on margin posting once tram is released. So tram is coming, guys. We're in the last days here of, I've seen testing has already started. Testing on the major pieces of tram has already started. There's obviously some UI and some bugs here or there, but all testing has started. Once that rolls out, once testing is done, once we roll out, once any bugs are fixed, then the focus for our UI guys is going to go on the website, but focus on our, after the website is up 10, 15 days, we will then fully focus on margin posting as the next product launch. So I believe, off the top of my head, I remember from our dev team, I think 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, if I remember. I think it was 6 weeks dev time. We've already done a lot of the UI UX mock-up work, so that'll definitely reduce a bit of time off of that estimate. Krispy Kreme tram is launching soon. That's also a passive income scheme. True, also passive income. Nice point. Bjorn, how is your search for head of marketing going, and when is the IEO marketing kicking into full gear? Still ongoing. Haven't seen any new interviews, though we're looking at bringing on a few auxiliary pieces to the marketing team in lieu of finding someone to kind of run the team, and also someone that has a nice background in sales and conversion. That's really what we need, more so than a guy that can dictate, which we will need as the team grows for sure. What we really need is someone that knows about aggressive sales marketing and conversion, and how to get conversions. That's that's the core of what we're looking for. And IEO marketing. So on Parsek's side, they've already started their IEO marketing. We're going to release a press release early next week, which we'll see how far and wide it goes, but it'll be released. And after that, we'll start doing a little bit more on our own social media, and Parsec will be getting some things kicked off. Cointelegraph, I think another press release as well. And I think they're going to be doing maybe 1 or 2 events as well, maybe one event before the kickoff. There's an event this weekend actually in Latvia called the Honey Badger. I can't attend because on Sunday I'll be traveling to Montenegro, but I was invited. But Anatoly, CTO of Parsec, will be there, and I think some other people from Parsec as well. Dustet. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Just got to say, I love your hair. I don't know if that's sarcastic, bro, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. So thanks. You've got my full support. Regards, ICO bag holder. Right. I have a lot of, well, I guess I don't know if my bags are from the ICO. My bags are pre-ICO. I'm pre-ICO. I'm like the most ancient bag holder of them all. So, but yeah, thanks for commenting on the hair. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the lighting, or maybe it's just the fact that I tend to keep my head held high, so it looks like there's actually a few pieces of hair up there. It's actually one hair, actually. I just weave it around every morning. It takes me like 4 hours just to get my hair ready in the morning. It's quite difficult. I got to weave it through. I mean, if you think Trump's hairdo is complex, this one is just outrageous. When are you releasing the Crypto Academy? Right now we had content made. Unfortunately, some of that content is already a bit antiquated, unfortunately, so it has to be redone. And some of that was reviewed by our legal team and head of legal, actually, and that we need to revamp a bit. And we got a quote to revamp it, and right now we haven't gone through with it. But I would say, actually, I have this on my development roadmap, which I was looking at. Let me see, I can give you, I'll tell you the date right now. It's actually a bit in the future. I didn't want to say soon. Crypto Academy, where are you, bad boy? So we're looking at somewhere between February and April of next year is when we're targeting to get the Academy out, because we want to revamp a lot of that content. It may happen beforehand. It all depends on rollout of other services. Have you considered the same use for XCM as KuCoin did for their KYCs? They pay dividends on daily volume. Yeah, that's illegal. That would make us not a utility. That would make us a security 100%. And yeah, we can't do that at all. It's possible that once we get through the MTF licensing, we could release some type of offer like that. But right now, it would be illegal. It would be illegal in Europe 100%, and in the US, and in most of South America, and in the whole of North America, in the entirety of Europe, in several countries in Africa, in Australia, and in several countries in Asia. So, thanks for the API preview. I will take a look during the weekend. Not a problem. I had to look at it myself as I hadn't seen the most recent version, but it looks pretty good. It's obviously right now we haven't released the fix APIs. Those are going to come out after, more than likely, Tram and website. We'll devote a bit more work, mainly because most people that have asked us for APIs, while we do have fix already enabled for many things inside the exchange, and we can use it for specific market making capabilities. In terms of releasing it publicly, most requests from the public in terms of being able to trade was for a more let's say a non-standard API, which is standard in crypto, like a REST API. Krispy Kreme trading mirror, you can allocate funds. Okay. Does CM use the Parsec platform for analysis? We've been working with their, let's say, demo version. Once and their beta version, we don't use we haven't fully integrated everything yet. We will. And we've been working with them to help them refine the product so that it's something that we definitely want to use. So yes, we use it to a certain extent now, and we will use it much, much more in the future. So will the CSD, by the way. When we'll release IOTA? Well, I don't know. I don't have a date on that one for you guys. I think it's definitely something that we'd like to do. That's for sure. There definitely is a need, I think, for more fiat on and off ramps for IOTA, and definitely it has a following. But it has its own blockchain, which means that it's not something currently in BitGo. It means we have to code to that blockchain. And right now, most of our resources in terms of development are focused on launching products. Once we get through launching products, we can start to focus on things like delving into different blockchains. Or once we fulfill a funding round, we can hire people to devote themselves to that specific, let's say, development. Right now, it's just not something we can do because we'll pull development away from major product releases. By the way, I need more high quality pictures of you to make more memes and high quality edits. Hey, Daniel. I guess I could do a photo shoot. I think we actually have some. Actually, we did a photo shoot in the office months back for some PR releases. They made me do all these stupid poses. I had to like smile all weird and like sit on the floor Indian style. It was disturbing, I think. But I mean, I can pass them if you want. If you feel like staying up at night with nightmares, I can definitely pass them over to you. But yeah. Anyway, DM me on Telegram. I'll see if I can find some unique, high quality images of myself to send over to you. That sounded not how I wanted it to sound, but okay. Tram sounds brilliant. Yeah, Tram's a great product. I'll put it that way. Jen, when were more LP expected, and which pairs that are not already supported? Well, we're working right now to finalize an agreement with a liquidity provider. They were supposed to come on board basically now, but they got delayed on their side. Now it's looking first week of October into the second to third week of October, depending on. Right now, we've been back and forth so that they can integrate into our APIs. I think that's nearing the end, and now we're finalizing the last little pieces of negotiation. Basically, all tokens that we have, except for maybe Stellar, at least initially, but possibly Stellar as well. We're still in, like I said, negotiation, not negotiation phase. We've gone through negotiation, but we're in the final steps. Will be backed by this one liquidity provider. So we should be able to. And what's coming next? We're looking to put together a bigger list for our banking provider for their green light this time. So there's something like, I think, 10 to 12 assets. That list hasn't been sent over yet because we have to give an opinion on each one of these. So it takes a bit of time. I do think, though, that by probably in the next week to 10 days, we will send that over to them. And we will wait on their opinions. I'll wait on their go-ahead so that we can list those assets as well. And the same liquidity provider will pick those assets up. What all licenses are CoinMetro trying to acquire? Are they more besides MTF, CSD? Besides MTF, yeah, EMI, electronic money institution, or e-money institution, PI, perhaps, payment institution. Either of those, depending on which country we're in, will allow us to do debit cards, allows us to do payments outside the system, SWIFT payments to third parties, et cetera. So challenger bank services. So those are the main licenses, though in different countries around the world, like Mexico, for example, has their ley fintech, and they have different licenses that apply to crypto exchanges. There's specific licensing in several other countries around the world. So crypto-related licensing, and then electronic or payment institution type licensing, and then MTF type licensing. So MTF being multilateral trading facility, US called an ATS. Around the world, there's different acronyms and different names for these types of platforms, but essentially platforms to trade securities, or licenses that allow platforms to trade securities. When are we introducing the USD stablecoin? That's also in the works. We actually just got an email back from them on some questions we had in terms of how we price this specific. I think I mentioned this to you guys all. It's Cement DAO. It's basically an aggregate of multiple US dollar stablecoins. It'll allow you to deposit any one of those stablecoins. You receive the mixed token in return via a smart contract, basically an atomic swap, almost like a cross-chain atomic swap. Not cross-chain, but it's still the same shit. But you receive it basically via an atomic swap. You get the mixed token. Mixed token you can trade with us. It's pegged to the USD. There's some underlying pieces of the Cement DAO that are really interesting. We'll go into that right now because that wasn't the question. and then you can withdraw the mixed token and then convert it to any other USD stablecoin you may wish to convert it to. This way, we don't have to onboard all those different stablecoins, but we're able to offer tradability for all those coins via this one mix token. I don't have a specific date, but it's being worked on. So I think October is going to be a big month for us in terms of launches. What are some of the future visions for CoinMetro? Where do you see CM in 5 to 10 years? That's a nice VC question. I'm going to have to jump back on Reddit after this one, guys, and I'll come back to you guys. So in terms of 5 to 10 years, again, VC question. So I mentioned this, I think, at the beginning, that in my eyes, my vision for CoinMetro has less to do with today's crypto market than it does to do with the vision of having a completely tokenized capital market infrastructure in the next 5 years. And tokenizing capital market infrastructure and doing it correctly, not just on the front end. So CoinMarketCap, Jesus. CoinMetro is essentially front end, right? We are a retail-focused front end ecosystem. Okay? So we focus a lot on user experience, okay? Which a lot of companies do. But what most people aren't focusing on, what almost nobody's focusing on, is post-trade. And that's what the CSD does. So in conjunction with the CSD, the goal here is to create a complete capital market infrastructure that reduces pain points that exist in traditional markets. Those pain points include the ability to buy and sell easily cross-border, globally, without having chains of custody, which induces latency of settlement, and latency of being able to have delivery versus payment, DVP. Delivery versus payment is, I have some cash, you have some securities, let's swap. In normal markets, you have to deposit into a securities account your cash. That can take 3 days. Settlement can take 1 to 3 business days. For that other person to get their cash can take 1 to 3 business days. And that's the good side. It can take longer, but that right there gives you 7 business days. That's 2 weeks, guys. That's ridiculous. In modern day and age, when you can click a button and get anything you want delivered to your house by Amazon, and let's say if you live in the US, UK, or other markets, within 10 minutes, right? But it takes 7 days to clear an electronically dematerialized transaction that's basically been worked on for the past 2 decades, is nuts. It's stupid, is what it is. And so blockchain has the ability to fix all that. It really does. And you can't do that without infrastructure. So CSD being the infrastructure, CoinMetro being the front end, the real end goal is to get into the fully tokenized market. This tokenized market allows companies to tokenize pieces of their infrastructure. It allows companies to tokenize debt. Look, even Fortune 100 companies are constantly taking on debt. They take on debt because money can be cheap. They take debt to float salaries. They take debt for R&D, et cetera. All big companies, Google, Facebook, they all have debt. It's strategic, right? But it's the way they have to go after that debt. First of all, the only people making money on that debt usually are institutional investors. Normal people can't get access to that debt. And these guys can't get access to money from non-institutional investors. So there's so many things that tokenization can do. It gives people access. It gives people immediate transfer of ownership. It gives people, low to no to real-time settlement of transactions, whether that be utility-based, whether it be security-based, whether it be it can transform the way modern capital markets work. That's the goal. And I think that happens before 5 years. And in 10 years, we're talking about slowly but surely building out an ecosystem where, from a user experience on the retail side, someone can come to us and make passive investments. They can make passive income. They can do their banking. They can pay their bills. They can move money to their, remittance to their relatives. They can come online and trade a bit if they like. They can do some demo trading. They can get into gamification on trading. All those things that revolve around, it's basically a full financial ecosystem. And I mean full financial ecosystem. I mean, take your banks, your insurance companies, your hedge funds, your brokers, all this, and merge it into one. That's the goal. And that takes time, and it will, and those are merchant services. This is everything. Everything that a bank does through multiple subsidiaries, we want to do it be a one ecosystem for the retail client, without all those pain points that happen now, whether that be cost, whether that be time, whether that be, all these different hurdles. And it's going to take time to get there. So that's the goal for the next 10 years. Within 5 years, tokenization of our capital markets, and within 10 years, tokenization of everything. That's basically it. Okay, so let me see. I had the 5 to 10 year question. Okay, there we go. I'm going to run back on Reddit real quick, guys. So Peter Mack asked about TRAM, but I covered that one already. Milton Van House asking, difficult question. Okay, the CM community is aware of your progress crediting MTF CSD sandbox from Montenegro. This is your way to already work in an MTF environment without having an MTF license to show your company and exchange is able to handle a CSD. That will make it easier for you to apply and obtain an actual MTF license, but it sounds difficult and hard work. Nothing that is valuable in life is easy. That will make it, okay, now there's another still not working crypto exchange. Besides their intended crypto biz, given their own social media posts, they intend to be the next NASDAQ in Europe in the future. You know, being NASDAQ in Europe is not really something to tip your hat to. NASDAQ in Europe is like, it's like not much to brag about, but okay, in the future. But how realistic are the plans? Everything sounds so easy when they talk about it on Telegram or blog posts. Once their exchange opens, they plan an IEO for their own utility token, which is already in circulation and traded on IDEX. IEO will auction their own utility token, which current price is 23 cents, from $10 to $1 in 100 token batches. That already sounds like a regulated product to me. But anyway, if you take a utility token, but the method by which you sell it says that it's regulated product, it's a regulated product. An auction, when you're talking about a tradable asset, is a regulated, let's say, vehicle of sale. So it makes it a regulated product. With the potential IEO funds, they want to get an EMI license and take over 2 companies' data center for their own blockchain and a stock market company. With the EMI license, or taking over a company that already has it, and the stock market company, they can give IBAN accounts, trade common stocks like Apple. So somehow also MTF comes into play. As I said, it sounds so easy, but how realistic is it? It's about as realistic as me getting up right now, opening the window, and flying with my red cape over to London, having an espresso and flying back before you guys even notice I'm gone. That's about how. So I don't know much about Next. I looked at their website for about 15 seconds, and I went, and then I stopped looking at it. Now, most people, now, I'm a pretty transparent guy. Most people in this situation go, no, I don't want to talk bad about a competitor. I will talk bad about competitors all day. And I'll tell you why, because I like to be real, right? And I'll tell you the real thing here. First of all, let's go through the claims, right? First of all, they're selling a regulated, they're going through a regulated product offering with a utility token. What that tells me is they have bad legal advice, or they have good legal advice and they're not adhering to it, or they're idiots. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those. Second, they want to take these funds and just go and get an EMI license, because, you just walk into the FCA's office and go, yay, bro, I got some cash. I need a license, I got like 10 minutes. What can you do? That's not how it works, right? In order to get a license, you need to actually have experience in what you're doing, and you need to have a business plan. And you can't be doing regulated sales offerings for utility tokens that have already been issued and recalculating price based on the fact you need more money. That's kind of called fraud. So, EMI license is going to be hard to get. Any license is going to be kind of hard to get. Then, we're going to buy a data center and we're going to buy a stock market company. And, we'll just buy an EMI company because it's easier just to buy a company with a license. Actually, it's not. Because when you buy a company, you then go through the same fit and proper test that you would when you initially get licensed. And the first question they ask you is, why did you buy a company with a license rather than getting the license yourself? And there's only really 2 good answers to that, maybe one good answer to that question. And if you give the wrong answer, which is, well, to speed up the process, or because it would take longer to get a license ourselves, then you basically don't get the license. So look, anybody can put this on paper. I can sit here and talk about it. I could tell everybody in this room how to set up a capital market infrastructure. Does that mean everybody in this room is going to be able to do it? No, of course not. Just like, look, success is not difficult, guys. Success in life, success in business isn't difficult. You know what separates success from not success? Not giving up. That's it. That literally is it. And that will explain to you why you can meet people in your daily life, right? You'll meet people that you go and you look at a guy. I don't know. You see a guy pull up next to you. You're in like your Honda Sonata, and this guy pulls up in a Ferrari, and he's got 3 buck teeth,
one eyeball, I don't know, one arm, and he can't, and he speaks gibberish, and he's driving a Ferrari. Well, how did that happen? I mean, this guy obviously isn't smarter than me. Hopefully, doesn't look better. I mean, I would hope. How the hell did this guy? You know why? Because he didn't give up. Maybe because he was too stupid to give up, but he didn't give up. That's why he's got a Ferrari, and I'm in my Honda Sonata. That's basically how life works. It's about not giving up. So here, though, you have to understand that in the regulated marketplace, not giving up is not all the things you need. You actually need experience, and you need to be able to show that experience, and you actually need to know what you're talking about. And the way that they describe what they're doing tells me they really don't know. They tell me they have a consultant that doesn't necessarily know what he's talking about, but knows enough to tell these guys something, and they believe it. So I would say this is pretty unrealistic. The fact that they're starting off on the wrong foot right away. Getting these licenses, for instance, EMI license right now, if you go to the UK, 18 months. If you go to, let's say, Lithuania, where everybody and their grandmother goes, you can get it in 6 months. You can probably get it in 3 months. But you'll be limited to Europe. And you won't be able to get correspondent banking unless you have a significant relationship with a bank for the last 10 or 15 to 20 years. If you don't have that as a founder, you're not going to get banking outside of Lithuania, and you won't be able to bank any currency except euro in the SEPA zone. Look at Mr. Tango to figure out how that works. Then when you talk about MTF licensing, you're talking 9 months minimum. MTF license has a very high barrier, guys. You need to understand capital markets through and through. You need to be able to understand these things, talk about them, understand how they work, and you need to be able to create a complex risk assessment model, a complex business plan. And you can't just pay a consultant to do that. Your guys at the top, your UBOs, your directors, everyone needs to understand what they're doing. Everyone needs to be fit and proper. If there's one guy on the team that's not fit and proper, license probably won't go through. So these things take time, guys. If it was so easy, trust me, we would have done it already. It's not, you just don't flick your fingers. And it doesn't matter about the money. Money can make the initial process easier because you can get your application in, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. So, all right, back to some live questions. Let's see. You've hated stablecoins in the past. What's different with this one? So from Cement Out, well, three aspects of this stable. Well, there's 3 tokens inside of this stablecoin. There's a governance token, there's the mixed token, and there's a risk token. What really triggered me about this one is that one, to be honest, the only thing that triggered me about this initially was the risk token. What the risk token does is essentially it bears the risk, which means that if anything inside, so the governance token governs what stable coins go into this contract, the allocation percentage of the funds that come in between all the stable coins, and it also delegates the fees that are charged. If there's a certain threshold, let's say no more than X% of this stable coin, if it gets close to that percentage, the fee increases. If it goes over that percentage, then the governance token shuts down deposits into that token until it goes down below the threshold, et cetera. So the governance mechanism was also, let's say I found it interesting. However, what the risk token does is, if any one of those tokens inside the mixed token were to default, go to 0, fall to 20 cents, whatever, it's the risk token holders that take the hit. So basically, the amount of mixed tokens that sits that relates to the amount of that underlying stablecoin that went to 0 gets swapped out for the risk tokens. And the risk token holders take on the risk because they get a percentage of all the fees that are charged during normal business. So they make a passive income, and then at some point, if anything happens, they take the risk. It is a model that follows traditional finance, and it makes sense. And I think that's one thing that always, look, I wouldn't put money into Tether. I wouldn't, personally. I would not put money into Tether. Knowing that there's definitely holes in that business model, knowing that nothing's really probably backing that, and if there is something backing it, I have no real understanding of what it is. And even if it's backed 1-to-1, the way the company's set up, I'm not protected. That company could steal all that money, and no one would stop them from doing it. So, maybe 10 years later, somebody goes to jail, but who cares? I lost my money. I don't care if the guy goes to jail. I'm not vindictive. I just want my money back. The guy goes to jail for the rest of his life. How does I get my money back? I could care less. So that's what interested me the most when it comes to Cementa. How soon are debit cards? So I mentioned this, I think, last week. The debit card process from the company that's providing them to us is all in process. They expect by September 15th to have most of the infrastructure done. I expect October 15th. I expect before the 1st of October to have the ability now to push our designs to MasterCard, because we'll have the framework and all the layouts and everything that we need to make those designs. That process alone takes about 8 weeks. Well, up to 8 weeks. I think it could take maybe 4 to 6, depending on the designs we send, how minimalistic they are. The estimate about 4 weeks ago, I think they started last week. They told me they had submitted stuff, I think 4.5 weeks prior. So 5.5 weeks have gone by already of a 12-week process. It's about 6.5, 7 weeks to go before the infrastructure is done. And then depending on when we submit our artwork for the cards, they may overlap, they may not. But let's say it's roughly 7 weeks, could be 8 weeks before we'd have the ability to be able to issue. But that we also don't know how long it'll take to implement. We don't have the APIs yet because the company doing the implementation has been changing their API documentation. So we have to look at the APIs. The APIs, if we see that the API implementation may take 5 weeks and we can't start it for 5 weeks, then that means 10 weeks. Generally speaking, though, it's in process, it's moving, and it's coming. So how soon? I would say less than 3 months is how soon. Cardano. Cardano is definitely on the short list, but we don't really have a schedule, guys. We kind of go down and we just take sentiment, market sentiment. We look at different factors and we just shoot out, what we feel makes sense. And now that we have a liquidity provider coming on that will be providing liquidity for these tokens, we're also going to take their opinion into account as well in terms of volumes they do on other exchanges of specific tokens. How are the talks, the sessions going with Ripple? Haven't rekindled those talks again. Brad G. Don't know who Brad G is, actually. So I may have talked to him. I don't know. But off the top of my head, I don't know who he is. Any opinion on ECB's negative rate policy? Look, if I see one more article from a guy saying that negative rates means the world's going to blow up, I'm going to put on my Economist 101 hat and go to this person's house and slap them and video it and put it on Twitter. You know why negative interest rates, guys? It's simple. So people spend money. That's it. That's it. Simple. Most people think that economists, I don't know, sit all day and night with a book open in the corner under a candlelight devising these schemes, and somehow they're so complex the normal person can't understand them. There's like 2 buttons at a central bank. One's called print, the other one's called burn. That's it. Quantitative easing. They either limit or they extend the amount of currency in circulation. That's it. Now, when you've cut interest rates and people still aren't spending because the media, like your friends at CNN and BBC and all these ridiculous news outlets that say that they're impartial, and they're not, none of them are. And they talk about the fact that the economy's starting to go to shit and we're going to hit some major recession and the whole world's going to blow up. It's going to be way worse than 2008, blah, 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 blah. That stops people from spending. So even though interest rates are low, and the only reason interest rates go low is so people will borrow money to spend it. That is the only reason, right? That means corporations, whatever. They want people to take money and spend it. Now, when interest rates are high, people save more. At least that's generally what's happened in the last 100 years. Now, interest rates were low and people stopped spending. Interest rates are going higher and people generally they're saving, but they're also not taking loans and spending. So you're at a point now where they know that they're coming to a point where we might have to go back down on interest rates. So they only have 2 options, guys. It's not like they have like 50 options to choose from. So what do? You put rates negative. People stop saving. And if you're not saving, what do you do with your money? You spend it, obviously. You don't put all your money in your mattress. You spend it. And that means companies spending on R&D, development. That means individuals spending more money. But really, obviously, what makes more of a difference is Fortune 100s spending capital. They are hiring new people. They spend on R&D. They get into different projects. They do mergers and acquisitions because they're not going to put their €1 billion in the bank and pay 1% a year to hold their money in the bank. That's ridiculous. They'd rather invest that money and possibly make a return. That's it. That's the only reason for negative interest rates. CEO of Ripple. Actually, I have talked to him before, actually, in Slush, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think I had a quick conversation with them, including their head cryptographer, as well as their head of business development, who I then talked to on multiple occasions. But yeah, that conversation fell off, and I haven't yet rekindled it, but I will. I'm getting there. Back to Reddit, guys. We're already over the time frame, but I'm going to try to get through these Reddits, and people waited a week to get an answer. So, Nixing, help the AMA right before Tram to go live. So would love to hear some more thoughts on what's coming, importance for tokenomics, the initial algorithmic trades, what will be traded, when can I invest? So in terms of Tram, we're talking about probably mostly algorithmic traders. We have a few algorithmic traders and funds that have come have interest. We'll start to circle back to those guys over the next week or so as Tram starts to come out. We don't want them to come on day one on Tram because obviously we want to make sure that we knock out any lingering bugs and things like that. But we'll start to circle back so they can have a look, demo it out, see if they like it, connect to our APIs, etc. Basically, what will be traded is what's already on the platform. So we want to add more assets, and we want to get feedback from these different algo traders on what they trade, so that we can add assets that they want to trade, so they can generate volume. But it's good for us because now it's not just us kind of walking around in the dark picking assets to list. We actually have a reason now and some more feedback on what assets will be needed. The importance for tokenomics, well, it's going to drive volume. Obviously, all the Tram trades happen on the margin platform. That doesn't mean they have to happen on credit, so they can all be one-to-one. But I think most traders will choose a bit of margin. We make money on that margin, and we make more money on trade volumes. So they will definitely push more volume. That volume, once we institute token burn, which will happen shortly, you notice I didn't say soon, then that's definitely going to drive our underlying tokenomics. So the important aspect here is it's passive income for investors. At the same time, on the other side, it allows managers to garner capital they may have not been able to garner otherwise. And since it's traded specifically on the margin platform, and since you can put up XCM for collateral, well, there's several driving forces there inside that cycle behind our own utility token for sure. From Nixing, if you wish, it's more a wish, was discussing CSD Sandbox on Reddit these days. A blog post summarizing the project would be amazing. We have a lot of documentation we're starting to put together from the CSD. It's a different company, so doing it under the CoinMetro moniker is probably not something we'll do, though we will start probably to release some documentation publicly in terms of the CSD within the next month or two. But we may, I guess we could on the CoinMetro side do a post just to describe how a DLT-based CSD could solve some of the pain points in traditional markets and just show the scope. Anyway, we're working on documentation, so we'll see what we can put together over the next couple coming weeks. But eventually there'll be a lot of information. But the more information we release now is the more fuel we give to competitors, guys. And this is a big project. This is quite large. And it's not that you don't need to be a genius to do it. And somebody who's already an incumbent with money who actually sees the vision. The big thing is here that incumbents don't necessarily see the vision. But if they do see the vision, and we're the ones that provide them with that vision, they can move quite swiftly. That doesn't mean they take over the market, but it does mean maybe they have first mover advantage. Any update on liquidity for altcoins? Already covered that one. What's my favorite pizza place? Wow. Of all time, so it's same place I think as Bill Clinton. It's a place on Wooster Street in New Haven, Connecticut. If you ever find yourself in Northeast United States, New York City, Boston, whatever, make sure you make your way down to New Haven. That's the home of Yale University. Go down Wooster Street. And Jesus, now I got the name. I swear to God, the name just like Frankie and Johnny's, maybe. I think it's Frankie and Johnny's, actually. Anyway, I'll think about it, but I think it's Frankie and Johnny's. The best pizza in the world, bar none. I mean, Napoli can come and kiss my ass. It is the best pizza in the world. No one can touch it. And they've been there, I think, for about 80 years, 70, 80 years, something like that. It's amazing. And there are always lines, always. But you can always find that if people wait and they get a table, they take a pie to go, whatever. It is amazing. When you talk about, obviously we're talking about kind of what would be that traditional American pizza, right? When you talk about pizza from Napoli in Italy, a bit different, right? We're talking more about fried dough with real fresh mozzarella. It's in a game of its own. But when it comes to the general definition of pizza that most people think of pizza, Wooster Street, Frankie and Johnny's, amazing. Talking about Talon has some okay pizza places. I think one of my favorites is probably Oko. Decent pizza, decent ingredients, cooked fresh, not bad. Of course, I don't really eat much now that I'm gluten-free and I'm also vegan, obviously. Kind of leaves my pizza options in the shitter. Gluten-free vegan pizza, you might as well eat cardboard with like soap flakes on top, because at least it'll taste like something. So I think we got through all our Reddit. So I'll answer what's left here, guys, and then we'll call it a day. Back to the YouTube. Do you think this from Bjorn? Do you think stock buybacks should be allowed? Seems like a giant scam that doesn't benefit society at large. Well, look, there's so many things that you can do in markets that can be considered to be manipulative. But at the same time, once you limit, if you say a company can't buy back its own shares, what is your basis for that versus a individual being able to buy back a ton of shares that they sold off at some point? So it's a hard thing. I think in times of crisis, stock buybacks can actually be a good thing. They can definitely be used to manipulate price, unfortunately. But the problem is when you create these rules, you create it because of this, and you don't see all of this, right? So you create it for a specific reason, and you don't realize what can happen. But when you go back and try to adjust that scale, it's impossible. You're never going to be able to create a rule in a market that is perfect. Whereas like it doesn't cause manipulation. There's no way to use that rule to basically take advantage of someone else. And at the same time, that rule is, neutralizing the market and making it safer. It just doesn't work that way. So I think there are pros and cons. If you ask me if there's more pros or more cons, I would say there may be more cons in terms of a numbered list, but I think the pros outweigh the cons, because in times of crisis, when stocks are tumbling and the only players in the market with the cash on hand in certain circumstances to be able to weather the storm are the companies themselves, then the buyback makes sense. Central bank equals fiscal, monetary, and trading policies, where monetary equals buttons as described. Yeah, correct. Again, I try not to go too deep into economics. Well, I say 101, right? That's more like economics 102. But I try not to go too deep. I don't want to bore everybody to death. But yes, you're correct. At the same time, whether you're talking about central banks or you're talking about just monetary policy as is, modern monetary policy and the way modern central banks are run, they don't have a huge list of options, right? It's really about the way they posture themselves and the way they describe the option chosen that drives the market more than the actual option chosen. And I think most people just have a misconception that the application of monetary policy is more complex than it is. The way we got to that monetary policy was a lot of complex discussions. But what it comes down to is that even complex discussions turn out to be rather simplistic decisions, right? Even though maybe behind that very simplistic button push, there was lots of complex discussions that led up to it. Have we applied for the Montenegro sandbox yet? No, not yet. We haven't gotten the full application package because they haven't finished it yet. But I will be in Montenegro on Sunday till Thursday, and I will make sure that I help them get that package ready. And then we'll look to apply ASAP. Are your YouTube editors not keen to use YouTube hashtags that relate to the video contents to generate some traffic towards the stream's playbacks that may help with marketing company profile? I would say they're probably keen to it. Maybe they just didn't do it. So sense a little sarcasm there. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. You're learning, man. So yeah, look, I'll say it like this. We have a community, and you guys are great for coming in here every week, and you guys are great for being on Telegram. All the feedback we get, positive, negative, whatever, all great. This type of feedback is great, and maybe we should open up a marketing channel on Telegram. Look, everybody knows, at least right now, that's here with us right now in this show, that we've been re-expanding our marketing team. We know there's holes there. There's definite holes, right? We've been kind of focused on this branding and kind of branding marketing rather than sales. What you're describing there definitely pulls more towards sales and conversions, and it's something that we're lacking for sure today. So please post that on Telegram, tag somebody, tag Oliver with it. Oliver will make sure that someone in the office hears about it. And look, it's not something we've already been talking about, but we need to talk about it more, and we need to solve it, and it will be solved, but we have to build out that team first. But if the community can play a role while we build out that team, so be it. So. Tether is a scam, saying bald fraud. I don't know if he's calling me a bald fraud, or somehow I'm committing bald fraud, which would be like pertaining to trying to be bald, but you're actually not bald. I don't know. I need an explanation on that one, because I can't even respond to it, because I'm definitely bald. So there's no fraud going on with the baldness. 100% legitimate baldness, my friend. Take a picture. Give us shirts, money, forehead. Actually, so I'm going to throw this out here, guys. Some people have already left the room, but I'm going to throw this out there. See what you guys think. Post it in Telegram. We're thinking about this thing. We've already started putting it together. It's the CoinMetro T-shirt of the month club. All T-shirts basically based on memes to start, with really cool little headlines or quotes tied into the meme. Lots of some CoinMetro logos. New T-shirt every month, monthly subscription payable in XCM. Every month you get a new T-shirt, limited edition T-shirt where X amount are created. And once they're created and sold, there's no more. Let us know what you think about that. We're really doing it more for fun more than anything else. A little bit of branding, a little bit of fun. People will be asked to take pictures with their T-shirts and then post those on social media. Perhaps to get a discount on the subscription, perhaps to get some free XCM, etc. I think it'll be really cool. We've already created a few different models in the office, and some of them are really great. So yeah, let me know what you think. So yeah, marketing channel. All right, I'll have somebody set that up. I'll pass the note upstairs. We'll set that up. Competition. You mean like a trading competition? Actually, one of our guys here, I don't know if you can see him. Let's see where he is. The guy with the headphones over there. This guy. Wait, hold on. There he is. That's Carrot right over there. So he actually came. We were actually talking just now about a trading competition with the API. So if that's what you're talking about, yeah, those type of things are definitely something we're going to look to do. I like to do things different than everybody else. Look, I know there's in life, right? It's good to follow in with something that works. When somebody does something that works, it's not bad to do the same thing. It's not terrible, but I like to be unique, at least in some way. I want to do the same thing everybody else does, right? So, we need to put our heads together and figure out how we do this API, let's say trading competition. Maybe we tie in XCM utility into that, something. We need something more unique, and it's definitely something that's been floating around the office, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely have the URL on the T-shirts as well. I was thinking initially maybe on the back, but then, most people aren't going to see it, at least when you're doing a stream, right? So maybe there's got to be a cool way to tie in the URL as well. You don't want to clutter up too much of the shirt in the front either, But yeah, we're looking. Any designers out there, by the way, you meme guys that are designing these cool memes, you guys, we can definitely work together to create these T-shirts. We already have some slogans. We got some things we want to do. We want to make, really nice stuff, make it limited edition, maybe even have numbered versions so that, there's only 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 of each shirt. And once they're gone, they're gone. Anyway, we want it to be, unique. Oh yeah, trading competition. Okay. Just on mine. Yeah, okay. I can just have like a sticker I can throw on there. So maybe I could just tattoo it on my forehead. A lot of real estate up there, right? Just, I could literally put like the whole mission statement, the URL, I don't know,
like an advertisement here for Tram, another one here for like margin posting or something. I could probably fit the whole landing page on my forehead, actually, in color. You know, that might be unique. All right, guys. So we ran like 20 minutes over today, so that's awesome. Glad to have you guys here. I think good AMA session. Lots of stuff like usual in motion, guys, but lots of stuff definitely. You know, where it takes time, guys, to do good things in life, right? Unfortunately, especially to keep them sustainable, right? But it's been a journey so far. The journey's only going to get more exciting. Lots of new stuff coming out. Lots of stuff brewing in brains around the office that we'll start to put on paper as well for the next round of product launches. We'll make Bjorn rich at some point so he can stop complaining in the AMAs and on Telegram about being poor. We'll get you there, Bjorn. We'll get you there, buddy. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, so thank you guys. Appreciate it. I think we got through all the Reddit questions, so that's cool. Spend some time with friends and family this weekend. Don't look at prices. Buy some XCM. You know the drill. And see you guys here next week. See you guys on Telegram. Tag me with any questions. And we'll go from there just like we always do. So cheers, guys. Have a great weekend.